What is up, everybody? Welcome back to Tag Team, the Pokemon trading card games premier podcasting duo. My name is Riley Holbert, joined as always by my good friend JW Kriwal. JW, how's it going today?
Pretty good, Riley. How are you?
I am doing fantastic, JW. I gotta say, what's been going on?
Not a ton. Just continuing to prepare for my coding boot camp that starts on in January. Looking forward to that. So spending a lot of my time just doing that, getting ready, trying to put out content, trying to been doing like a video a day,
Yeah,
for the last couple of months. That's been my goal. I've certainly not hit, exactly to that goal, to a T, but that has been what I've been trying. And so it's been it's been certainly a learning experience for me in terms of YouTube content.
yeah. And so, what have you learned?
Well, I've learned how to efficiently edit a
That's
video.
huge. Yeah,
So I mean, the way that I currently have the YouTube set up, I can edit a video in under, I would say 45 minutes from taking it from a Twitch clip or VOD, whatever, and then doing a introduction, and kind of discussing the deck and analysis, if you will, and then, clipping that into the games from the stream. I can do that in under, yeah, 45 minutes or so. And I don't know, it's a nice little smooth line, streamlined
yeah,
process that I
streamlined.
finally figured out.
That's awesome. I
Yeah.
Did you know I used to like make videos when I was in like middle school and high school just for
I had
fun?
no idea.
Yeah, and what I'm getting to with this is I'm very jealous that you have a streamlined process there because I was like such a always a perfectionist and maybe to a
Yeah.
fault with editing
Yeah.
videos, and I would rewatch my own videos a million times. And I'd put them on YouTube and I'd watch them again and I'd be like, oh, I don't like this. And so I'd take it down and I'd edit it
Wow.
more. I just, yeah, I get really into it.
Yeah. That's crazy. I had no idea. So what would you put videos out about?
Um, it was a lot of different. It just kind of depended on what I was interested in. Back when animation was like the big thing on YouTube. I don't know. Do you remember that era in like very early YouTube when animation was like the thing? You had Ego Raptor with his like awesome games.
Oh, yeah. And then I remember there was a YouTube video called Washington.
Yeah,
Do you
like
remember this? And it was Washington, or like epic fights or something. And there was one, there was an epic fight,
yeah, the
right? It was
Ultimate
like
Showdown of Ultimate
the
Destiny.
ultimate showdown of Supreme Destiny. What
Ultimate
was it?
Destiny is
Ultimate
Ultimate
Destiny.
twice. Uh,
Ah,
yeah, so like animation was the big thing, and so I tried that. I tried just like Maple Story videos. I did um, like basically whatever was interesting to me at the time, and kind of like
yeah,
coincided with whatever the trend was at the time. Because I was young and impressionable. So,
sure,
but yeah, so I tried all sorts of things, and I would always spend forever on videos that were truly mediocre. Um,
sure,
but fond memories for sure.
sure. No, that's cool. That's cool. If you haven't tried to make a video or produce content, I would highly encourage it. If you have that creative side in you, it certainly gives you, I think, a greater appreciation for the people that do it very, very well, and
Yeah.
makes you realize just how much goes into high level productions. I mean, whether it's, a Broadway play or sports or, Twitch streamers, like really any type of content that's being created, you just have kind of a bigger appreciation for that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So let's just jump right in then. Um, Speaking tangentially to your content, we had another Full Grip Online series yesterday. This time you actually got to play.
I
So
did.
Andrew took up the reins on streaming for the week, and you dove right in there with ADP Zacian. So tell us about generally how that tournament went. Tell us how you did. What's the scoop?
Yeah, it was a great tournament, well run. I want to just pump up Natalie and everyone else that worked behind the scenes to get the tournament running very smoothly. So we started at 7 o'clock, and I ended my last round at 9:20, 9:12, 9:20, somewhere around there. And it was just a beautifully run tournament in the sense that I like tournaments that are just punctual and on time.
Yeah.
And I certainly haven't had that with every single online tournament. So I just props to everybody from Full Grip for getting it out there and being punctual. And so I played ADP for the tournament, and that's a little bit of maybe a cop out. I was kind of feeling a little anxious with what to play going into it, and I just didn't really like a lot of the options. I was thinking about Pikarom pretty heavily, but recently there had been some uptick in Excadrill, and I had actually played it against an Excadrill in the Sunday PokeX tournament, and I was a little bit nervous about playing that again and just feeling helpless. And so I wanted to just kind of go with a deck that I knew was just going to be as consistent as possible, playing a Zacian ADP deck with 4 Zacian. You're probably going to get that additional draw on the first turn, and you don't really auto lose to much. And so I went in with that mindset, played a very straightforward, consistent list, and did end up finding an auto loss. But luckily, it was late enough in the tournament that it didn't end up, putting me into a weird bracket. So I played ADP a couple of times in the first round and the last round. Both of my opponents had less than stellar hands. The first round opponent, I think, started a Zamazenta and attached twice. Ooh. And passed, and that was it. And I was able to just build up the ADP and pretty much just do my thing, even though I wasn't drawing particularly well. And then in the last round, that was the one that was streamed. They also just kind of had a dead hand in the mid game where they could have taken a Gust KO and really swung the matchup. They weren't able to do that, and so I was able to win that. Played against a couple of Pikaroms. One Pikarom, Deadrew, they attached an energy to a Crobat and passed.
Oh no!
For a couple of turns, and it was okay, well, I'll take that dub as well. And then the other Pikarom matchup was actually incredibly close. I really do enjoy that kind of back and forth between Pikarom and ADP. That feels like if we did have a Worlds, that feels like kind of very indicative of what the format is right now. Obviously, the Worlds would have been in a different format, but if we had a Worlds in this format, like a Pikarom versus ADP matchup, feels like what it would be. Yeah. And then I played against, in round number 5, a Decidueye Goons, and this made me happy in a sense. I mean, it made me sad because I lost, and it was a horrible matchup because I didn't include any non-GX attacker. But it made me happy in the sense that deck was a deck that I worked on heading into kind of this competitive season, heading into the Players Cup 1 with Alex Piney. And we had been kind of labbing that deck and trying to figure out, okay, would this be a good play for the Players Cup, the first Players Cup? And, we kind of decided, yeah, it probably would be. There's a lot of things that you beat. And just to see it perform well and win the tournament yesterday was oh yeah, all that time that was spent on that deck, which was Rogue at the time, all that time that was spent there, really didn't go in vain because we're still seeing it pop up. So yeah, that was pretty cool. Sad that I had to lose it, and sad that it was so it was so crushing, there was nothing I could do. But it was cool to see that deck again.
Yeah, I remember you Mawiling after they drew 3 prize cards off the ADP. There was a single Pokemon in the hand, not even an evolution.
yeah, it was pretty funny. I was well, I think I have one shot here. After they knock out the ADP, they take their additional 3 prizes. I think they have 7 or 8 cards in their hand. I'm okay, I have a Mawile, and that's my one out. If I can just Mawile a couple of bench Pokemon and they don't have a Scoop Up Net, then I can go ahead and gust those up for game, and they had none. So
you hate to see it.
You do hate to see it.
And Decidueye Obstagoon ended up winning the whole thing, didn't it?
It did, yeah. So taking down a Centiskorch VMAX deck in the finals. We don't know how that game played out, but the Decidueye Goons player did play the 4 Weakness Guard energy, and with Obstagoon being able to one-shot the Volcanions, obviously if they put the 30 damage from the evolution, the Obstagoon, onto the Volcanion, you can do 90 damage, and then you can kind of clean up there with the Decidueye. So, well played to our champion Jonathan, and getting that dub with the Decidueye Obstagoon. Yeah. It's crazy to think that deck is still being played too, because we have Altaria, which to me, Altaria frees up so much space for the deck. But I was really just kind of struggling to think, why would you play Decidueye as opposed to Altaria? I'm wondering if you have any thoughts.
Yeah, I've had this discussion before, actually. I think think I was talking to Andrew about it like over text or something. Um, I think Altaria is fine if you like want to tech it into decks that are compatible with it.
Hmm.
Um, I think if you're going for the lockdown strategy though, like Altaria isn't really enough. A against decks that have like one out, Altaria doesn't really do enough damage to effectively deal with them. So like good example of that is Tapu Koko Prism Star in Pikarom. Like you can just bolt onto it, charge it up, and Tapu Koko can easily plow through Altarias like nobody's business. Um, and then I also think if you're going like pure lockdown, you need Obstagoon, right, to like cover your bases. Um, and Altaria is less compatible with Obstagoon than Decidueye in the fact that they both use Rare Candy, which like isn't necessarily a plus, but like they can slot in together in that way. Um,
Sure.
but the twin energies don't work at all with Obstagoon really, and the darkness energies don't really work at all with Altaria. Um,
Right.
so it's just like a little awkward deck building. And then Decidueye will do the more damage anyway. So at that point, like if you're going to already concede that your deck building is going to be a little weird in play stage twos, you might as well play the better lockdown card, in my opinion.
Fair enough.
And also, like the HP difference is very meaningful.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, that does make a huge difference. 110 is, you're going to get one shot by Volcanions. Really, that's like the most relevant one
Yeah,
that I think
and you're
about
two
for
shotting
110.
them.
Right, exactly.
So, yeah, I think Decidueye is definitely better if you're going for that strategy as like your main strategy. If you're playing a deck that plays Twin Energy and you slot in an Altaria, I think that's fine. I think that's perfectly reasonable.
Sure,
But I definitely think Decidueye is the better iteration of that card.
sure. Well, speaking of Altaria, though, and just a quick aside, we did see an Altaria deck make top 8 in that Full Grip Online Series tournament, piloted by Matt Sattel with his ADP Altaria deck.
And there
which
you
is
go.
Very cool. Just very interesting. Just wanted to point that out and highlight that player. Congratulations, Matt, on your top 8 finish. We have our next Full Grip Online Series tournament coming up on November 17th. So we're delaying it by an additional week to make enough time for Vivid Voltage to come out. So next time you hear about the Full Grip Online Series, it will be in a new format. And so we're really excited for that.
Yeah, and if you didn't catch last week's episode, we did hit on Vivid Voltage in that one. We're very excited to see how Colossal shakes up the metagame. Also, the Orbeetle card I think is really cool.
Sure.
I'm kind of warming up to it more. I think it's a neat card, if nothing else. It probably takes
It's
second
got to
place.
be good. I mean, it's got to be good, right? Because you have things like Zigzagoon being played in decks that it doesn't necessarily have any other business being in. Like
I mean,
the
I'm
10
a
damage
sucker
is
for a
very-
sucker for like that kind of spready kind of deck anyway.
Well, and it could. I mean, I could even see Orbeetle being just like a 2/2 line, just in general, like in any deck, where it's like, okay, well, I have this, ability to spread, and that's very good, and spread all these damage counters across the board, and that's just generally a good thing to do. So
Yeah,
it will be interesting to see how much these new cards get played. I am also particularly excited, not to harp too much on the new cards coming out, but I'm particularly excited about Donphan being able to do 120 for 1 energy. I mean, I know we have things like Excadrill, but there are some pretty significant, or there are some different downsides to Excadrill as opposed to Donphan. So Donphan having a little bit more HP, going to be able to do that 120 for 1 energy. I don't know. That seems to me like there's potential combos there additionally with the damage to the bench, being able to activate certain other attacks. So
yeah,
I know. Looking forward to that as well.
Yeah, definitely some cool cards coming out in Vivid Voltage. I'm excited to see how it shakes out, and we will be covering more Vivid Voltage as we get closer to the set drop, and so fear not, more to
That's
come.
right. That's right.
Today, though, we wanted to focus in on a little bit of different kind of content. So if you're looking for hard competitive info, this probably isn't the episode for you. JW and I were actually talking before the podcast, and we're both kind of down today, Pokemon or otherwise. And so we wanted to talk about just some, happy, uplifting moments that we've had in the Pokemon trading card game, and or Pokemon in general, and what that means to us. Um, so I'm going to share a story of mine, and JW is going to share some stories of his, and hopefully you can impart some, at least some, I don't know, some fun out of it, if nothing else.
Yeah, sure. Just kind of, I think a lot of people are maybe depressed maybe at this format, and we are. I mean, probably for me, I'm experiencing a little bit of like seasonal depression, where it's just like it's kind of dark every day. And in any case, I was really talking to Riley before the cast, and we're like, well, let's try to like pick our spirits up, like maybe sharing some things between us would be good to kind of refocus and kind of get ourselves out of just a little bit of a slump that I've certainly been feeling recently.
No, for sure. I have too. And so I wanted to start off. I don't think I want to share necessarily one large story, but I have a couple like small moments that I can always think of as being really happy in Pokemon. I don't want to talk about like winning a regional or topping a regional or anything like that. Like you all know those stories about me, or could easily find them. What I want to talk about actually is some of my moments really early in the game when I was just a wide-eyed little lad, relatively speaking. I mean, I was in college, getting into the game and what that was like for me. And so we first discovered Pokemon, me and two of my roommates. I guess one wasn't my roommate, but he would later become my roommate, Thomas and Anthony. We were playing at our local league, and we primarily played the video game. And we got into the Pokemon trading card game because of the World Championship decks that they had at our league for free use. And so we were getting into the game. We were buying all our cards to get into our decks. And we were really into packs at the time. And this was also around the time that the 20th anniversary Generations pin sets were coming out, right? And so like packs were kind of like a really fun thing at the time. And we distinctly went on adventures. So, we're all in college, and we don't have like actual means of transportation. We're confided to our foot travel and bus travel. But we wanted to go basically everywhere we could to search for Roaring Skies packs. And if you played Pokemon around that time or recently, then you definitely know why we were doing that. And it was on the hunt for the legendary Shaman EX card. Granted, this was before Shaman spiked to like $100. It was only like 20 or 30 at the time, which in hindsight just seems so ridiculous. Why we didn't just buy them. But we decided that we were going to try and pull Shaman EX. And so one day we go down to the local GameStop just south of Ohio State's campus, and we each buy like 3 Roaring Skies packs. We buy out their stock. Because keep in mind, Roaring Skies was also not the most recent pack at the time, so it was just whatever was left. And I pull like a full art Mega Latios, which like, oh, that's so cool. That's so interesting and neat. And I think my friend pulls another EX card, and then Thomas, the third friend who came with us, pulls a full art Shaman. We're like, wow, the ROI is already here. Like, we got to keep doing this. And so, so we must have gone. I think we went to 3 different Targets and 4 different GameStops. We took buses all over the city.
Oh my gosh!
And it was just so much fun. And we actually did get one more Shaman off of that. And going to Target just became like a joke almost in our group. It was like something we would do for fun. We would go to Target. But it was honestly just so fun. We were on the bus for like an hour one way going to a Target just to explore for cards. And it's just like those kind of moments are so pure and almost innocent in a way.
I mean, we used to do that. The most that we would do that, it would be in high school. We started a Pokemon club in high school, and primarily based around the cards, but people also played the video games. But we would do that, Friday night, parents gave you $20. All right, which Heart Gold Soul Silver tin are we getting tonight? Let's go, boys. And we'd like go out and rip the packs open, and like, man, that was just so fun.
It was just so much fun. And then we would go back to the dorm room and we'd play the Darkrai EX versus Mega Gyarados matchup, and it was just I mean, that's what it was all about. And that was probably, honestly, those games just on the floor of my dorm room were some of the most fun I've had. Which kind of leads into some of my other happy moments. was this isn't really a happy moment, but it's a moment that I think is funny. So me and this group of friends are playing Pokemon cards on the floor of my dorm room. We didn't have like a good table to do it on because we just had the desks, right? Like, and those were filled with our computers. And so we were playing on the floor on our play mats. You know, dice are everywhere. We're basically taking up all of the free space. And very frequently, a friend of mine would come to my dorm room. And so she comes upstairs. She's a very nice lady. Knocks on my door, and my friend answers it, and it's just me, like, on my stomach on the floor playing Pokemon cards with my friends, while this pretty girl is at my door trying to get help with homework. And I'm like, oh, sorry, can we pause the game for a second? So I get up and like sit on the couch, and now I'm doing homework while my friend is just sitting there waiting for the game to continue.
Right.
So he turns on the TV and starts watching, I think, Dragon Tales, just like the kid show, and
to keep the meme going.
He actually enjoys kid shows, but yeah, basically it's a meme. And so so Dragon Tales is on the TV, Pokemon cards are on the floor everywhere. I'm trying to keep cool. It's just a complete mess.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you what, that person is a true friend because they stayed my friend and they continued to come for homework help and discussions when we needed it. So
there you go.
Shout out to that group. And then
shout outs.
I think that leads it well into my last story. And so this same group of friends, we had a lot of Pokemon that we were fond of for various reasons, especially forgettable Pokemon. So at one point, if you remember in the worst Pokemon of all time video, I had talked about how Heliolisk is forgettable. That was a meme that was started in that friend group. We came up with that because we had done a Gen 6, like, name them all. It's not a Quizlet, but one of those, like, online quiz things. And the only Pokemon from Gen 6 we couldn't get was Heliolisk. or Helioptile. Sorry, Helioptile. And so that was one of them. But another one that very distinctly sticks out in my mind is Finneon. The Pokemon Finneon is just like the ultimate forgettable Pokemon because it's just a fish. Yeah. It's
just a fish. There's like really nothing special.
It's just a normal fish.
Just a fish.
Like you could find that fish in real life.
Yeah.
And so we had a Finneon card that stayed with us everywhere that we moved throughout college. We had at one point tried to burn it, but we failed and just got it covered in wax. And so I don't know. I don't really know what happened there, but so there's a Finneon that's covered in wax. We would tape it to like a very prominent wall on every house that we lived in throughout college. And that was our Finneon. It was a Phantom Forces Finneon, which is actually segue into my card of the day. So my card of the day for this week is Finneon from Phantom Forces. There's really, just like Finneon itself, there's nothing exceptional about this card. It's truly like the epitome of mediocrity. I'm pulling up the stat line on it now just so I can emphasize this. Yeah, so it was 50 HP, pound for 1 energy for 10 damage, and there's just a Finneon. That's it.
You know? I like what I'm hearing.
So, I mean, this Finneon is just so stupid and lame, just like Finneon itself. But honestly, I kind of have a soft spot for Finneon Luminion as a result of the meme of it being so lame and forgettable. Finneon, I actually do really enjoy you as a Pokemon. And I think when I think of that friend group, one of the quickest things I can think of is Finneon. And we're all still really close to this day. And Pokemon is still something that we can talk about. They don't play competitively, but it's something that we all share an interest for and enjoy. And really, when I think of like happiness within Pokemon and my best moments in Pokemon, it's really about the people that play it. I really love this game and I love playing it. But the connections I've made through this game over the years are just truly the best I've ever had in my life. And that goes for my friends I met in college. That goes for everyone I've met through these tournaments and online. I really can't express enough like how awesome this is. And Finneon, in a way, represents that for me, especially this particular one from Phantom Forces.
That's a great story. That's a cool little tradition that you guys had.
Yeah, it's still in possession actually of Anthony. Um,
Uh,
yeah, he still has it in Columbus.
Hung prominently on a wall.
Yeah, and
Great.
every time we moved houses, we would take a picture with it as a group.
Oh,
And
that's nice.
yeah, so when they recently they've all kind of parted into their different ways as we moved into different areas of life. But
Yeah.
there's the most recent selfie. I wasn't in it, but the rest of them were still in Columbus, and they took one together. And it was really, it's
Uh,
just sweet. It's uplifting, you know.
yeah.
Um, I I enjoy it.
Yeah. That's amazing. That's amazing. Well, when I think about just like the happiest times that I'll miss one day, presumably when life gets busier, I won't have as much time, and certainly won't have time to do it with friends in the way that I used to. But just when I think about the fun times in Pokemon, I think about the testing sessions with
Yeah.
you and Andrew and any friend that I've ever had, but like staying up till 3, 4 in the morning, just slinging the same matchup back and forth over and over, changing like one card, turning a card backwards to see, okay, would it be better as card A or card B, changing the deck altogether, swapping a tech attack line out. It's just all these different things that go into testing. The week before, the night before a tournament. I miss that dearly. I miss those sessions, and just being able to. I don't know. It's kind of, for me, those sessions are like an expression of self. It's like I'm fully committed to that one thing for 6 hours, and that's probably the long, like Pokemon just generally in the game is probably the longest that I'll ever be kind of one track minded
Yeah.
on anything. And I don't know why. I can't say why, because no other game, I like a lot of games, but no other game comes close to the amount of attention that Pokemon can take from me. Like I could just be into it for so long, for like, in a very like a very singular thing too. One deck. I could be into one deck for 6 hours. And it's like learning the matchups, learning the ins and outs, learning the tech cards and what to do when, and that's just so fun to me. Staying up 4 or 5, getting a couple hours of sleep, waking up, doing it again. That's the best.
Is there a particular session that sticks out in your mind?
Well, I would have to say, it's a little bit cliche. You said you weren't going to talk about regional wins, but I will. And it would have been, the one that was the most recent. So that's probably also why it sticks out in my mind. But just before the regional win in what, Roanoke?
Yeah.
So being able to stay up with Andrew, he's like, okay, I got this deck. Let's run it. Let's run all these matchups and like, let's figure it out and really kind of solidify what the deck was going to be. And it started out going into the night. That was the beauty of it. It started out as just this idea and this concept, and it was built in a completely different way with like, I forget the cards that we had specifically, but we had just a bunch of cards that didn't really make a lot of sense with the deck. And then it was like, okay, playing a few games, and it's like, well, should we even include that? And then like pretty much swapping, I would say about 20 cards from where we were to where the regional list kind of ended up. And that's just so cool. I don't know. I look back on that session as being, pretty indicative of all the other sessions, but that one sticks out the most to me just for what it resulted in.
No, for sure, for sure. Testing sessions with the homies is just that's where it's at for sure.
Yeah.
It really distills the game. People are at banter. They're talking crap back and forth.
We have this thing that we do that started at Worlds 2016. I was testing with Natalie, and we have this phrase, and it goes, "I remember my first win." And then I was testing with Natalie for the Worlds tournament, and then I kept saying that, and then I started to like riff on it. So then the next riff was like kind of saying it in like an elevated voice, and eventually my voice got so elevated where it's kind of turned into like a song. So it's like, and so you're supposed to say, "I remember my first win whenever anybody gets really excited about winning a game, you're like,
Yeah.
I remember my first win. Wow, you got to win. Well, gee, I got to win a long time ago. It's like push-up guy kind of thing, right? Like, oh,
Yeah.
you did a push-up. Well,
I did
did
100
2 push-ups.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did 100 push-ups. That kind of thing. So it's like, so now you kind of sing it, and you kind of sing it inaudibly, and you kind of muffle it, right? So you go, I remember my first win, and it's that kind of thing, And I don't know, that's really fun to me. Those inside jokes that you get from the banter and just being up so late with other people.
Yeah, it was like mainly Natalie and I, but I think it spread to other people as well. We would always like rip on people who were like complaining because their opponent had some combo to win the game. I think you've heard this as well. It's like they always have it. It's just like how demented can you get your voice when you say that?
I prize my prize cards, I prize my prize
I
cards.
hate when I have to lay out 6 prizes when I have to start the game.
So
Like,
tilting.
stupid stuff like that. Yeah, those are really some of the just most pure moments of like competitive Pokemon, right? When you're just with the friends trying to perfect something and you're all goofing and gaffing and jiffing with each other.
Yeah. For sure. For sure.
That's awesome. Do you have any other particular moments that stick out to you?
I just have a lot of travel stories about Pokemon. Just, thinking about how I've gotten to certain tournaments and, coming back from certain tournaments. There was a tournament that we went to in Toronto. I used to love going to these when we had, they were called city championships, and they would have these city marathons. And I would make a point every year to go up to Toronto. I did it for about 3 or 4 years. I want to say maybe 5 years. And it was actually always with a different group of people. So that kind of made it fun too, because I can think back to, okay, here's a very specific time that I went with this group. And then it was a whole new dynamic when I went with this group, and this group was kind of fun. And I went one time with a group, and we were heading back from Toronto. So we had spent like 2, 3, 4 days, something like that, playing all these different local tournaments. It would have been like having league cups right in a row. And so we went to a bunch of these local tournaments, got back, we're driving home to Michigan, and we're in a blizzard, and it like we should not have been driving. And I just like, I remember very distinctly like thinking like, I can't believe I'm doing this for Pokemon, and then being happy that I did it for Pokemon.
Yeah. Yeah.
It didn't make a lot of sense. It was very dangerous. I should not have been on the road. In fact, we probably just should have stopped and pulled off the road, but we kept driving. And I remember just being like the endorphin rush from just being in that precarious situation, doing something that I really loved to do.
Yeah.
Was a great moment.
Yeah, it reminds me of, I told this on the cast I think a few weeks ago when I got stuck on the on the road outside of Cincinnati.
Yeah.
Good times. Yeah. Good times for sure.
Yeah, exactly.
The travel is part of the fun as well, for sure.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, that's awesome. I certainly feel uplifted. I don't know.
I do as well. Let's make it a good week, Riley.
For sure. So I think at that point, if anyone has any quick stories they'd like to share in the chat or any questions they'd like answered, we'll take a couple of those and then we'll sign off for the week. We, as always, sincerely appreciate you. This cast is super awesome, and I think we have a great community built around it. Just like Pokemon itself is a pretty awesome group of people.
Yeah, that's right. Appreciate all the listeners to the podcast. I mean, I don't know analytics from any other podcasts because those are pretty difficult to find. It's not like YouTube viewers or anything like that. But I can fairly confidently say that this is the most listened to podcast for competitive Pokemon, and we just thank you a lot for making the cast what it is. Really, really appreciate all your continued support, and we hope that if there are any concerns, criticisms, or just general feedback that you'd love to give to us, that you would reach out either on Twitter at Tag Team Pokemon Podcast or to each one of us individually, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, even all that stuff will work.
QCOC has a happy memory. Shout out to the honest guy that let him take a dub this past weekend. And
yeah. So there was a
looks like that was JW actually.
Max Leedy. I played him in the first round of the PokeX tournament, and I had left the stream and clicked loss on accident, and he was gracious enough to relinquish the win. He had forgotten to retreat off of poison, and so I ended up winning that. I was playing a Poison Eternatus build, and he was very gracious and let
Wow.
and called the judge over to the virtual table.
That's so wholesome.
Allowed me to take it back. It was very wholesome. It was pretty much exactly how Pokemon sportsmanship should go. So shout out to Max Leedy.
Honestly, I think it's so easy to get down on the game and the community, because I feel like negative aspects sort of take up more of the lens, right? When you're thinking about negative things, they just occupy more of your mental space than the positive things. But really, I think Pokemon is a great community. There's a lot of great people trying to do awesome things to help out. I mean,
yeah, it is really cool. I've been really encouraged by some of the people doing well. I mean, part of my feeling a little down about Pokemon recently is just like, I've been trying some new things and trying to do some make some content in a different way than I normally have, and like it just hasn't been leading to the results that I've been seeing, but or that I've been wanting to see. But on the other side of that is like I've been seeing a lot of creators grow in pretty just, and maybe not significant ways. There are some that have certainly been significant. I think about Purple Cliff just like blowing up here, which is really interesting. Maybe not so much on the TCG side of things, but certainly was in that realm, and could certainly pull some if he ever decides to go back to a little bit more TCG focused content. But there have been other creators that have just been seeing like very consistent growth, and I've been noticing, and it's been really cool to see, just in the sense that Pokemon really is a very small niche, and competitive Pokemon is significantly smaller than the niche of Pokemon. And so being able to see like growth in the genre as a whole has been really encouraging, because I think if the tides rise, like all ships rise equally. So
yeah,
hoping that that's the case. That's a really interesting thing that I've been seeing, and it's really cool to see for us on the whole.
Got one more question in from Sean Lyden asking what's new in the Pokemon world. Well, not a lot at the moment, but Vivid Voltage is coming out very soon and looks to shake things up a bit. So
we do also have some expanded bands on the horizon.
It's coming out tomorrow, isn't it?
That they are coming out tomorrow potentially. We know that Pokemon historically
has been
like pretty hands off, generally speaking, with both their announcements.
Well, they pretty explicitly said that they would do something.
Bands. Sure. We don't know what that is yet. And we don't know if that's a ban of many cards or one card, or if they will reverse any of their prior
Forest
bans.
Of Giant Plants is bad.
I hope that they do. I hope that they do reverse some older bans. But in any case, we have no idea the scope of the bans and whether or not it's going to make for a good format, a bad format, pretty much the same format. It's really up in the air. So those bans will come out tomorrow. Look for those. We'll certainly be covering them on the next episode.
Yeah. So mapping out the future for Tag Team here. We got the next episode covering some hopefully exciting expanded news. And then shortly after that, we're going to have lots of Vivid Voltage updates to talk through all about.
Right.
So plenty of exciting things in the near future. We hope that you enjoyed this episode of Positivity. I think it was certainly helpful for me because I was in kind of a downer mood. So yeah, that's definitely refreshing for me. Be sure to check us out on Twitter. That's at RealJohnWalter, at Smiles with Riles, and at Tag Team Pokemon. And we will be catching you next time. Peace.
See ya.